Good afternoon, I'm Kayla O'Brien here with a special edition of Orlando Sentinel's Politics Now. I'm with two candidates for the Winter Park Commission City Seat number 4. With me today is Tom McMacken and Pete Weldon.
Yes.
How are you guys doing today? I want to give
Great.
you a chance
Excellent.
and some of the viewers a chance to get to know you. Tom, let's start with you.
Thank you. I am Tom McMacken. I am the incumbent for seat number 4. I've served 2 terms and I'm running again for the City Commission because I believe that the city has never been in better shape than it is right now. Over the last 6 years, we have had incredible growth in our city. We've had development. We've increased our reserves by over $7 million. We've never been in better financial shape. And I think I want to keep things that are good going. So that's why I'm running again.
Great.
I'm Pete Weldon. I am Tom's opponent for seat number 4. I moved to Winter Park in 1989 with my wife Fran. Our children were born at the Winter Park Memorial Hospital and raised in Winter Park. I've served on 3 different city boards over the past 8 years, the Code Enforcement Board, and I'm currently still on the Tree Preservation Board and the Planning and Zoning Board. I'm running because I've been working for reasoned policy in Winter Park for the past 10 years, and I think there are some ways to improve our governance in Winter Park.
Great, thank you so much for that. So the first question is for you, Tom.
Okay.
How would you address development in Winter Park while still preserving the city's character?
You know, that's been the question in Winter Park now for the 6 years that I've been on the commission and probably even before that. It's a unique situation we have in Winter Park. We've got a very eclectic aesthetic and you have to walk a fine line in order to protect that. Now, I've served on planning and zoning. I'm a landscape architect. I work with architects, engineers, contractors, developers, attorneys. And you have to understand how do you maintain that eclectic aesthetic. And you look at it individually. It's not just a numbers game. We so often get trapped into if it's an FAR, how many parking spaces you have, or how big the building is. It's really what does that building look like and how does it fit into Winter Park as a whole. So I've been able to do that on the commission. I think I bring a unique perspective as a landscape architect to that. I understand plans, I understand development, and I'm able to look at projects individually for their own merit.
Pete, same question?
Yes, serving on the Planning and Zoning Board for the past 3 years, I have been faced with several decisions about the scale of certain redevelopment requests in the city, and I have routinely denied upzoning requests, both in terms of residential as well as commercial, because we're trying to find the right balance in Winter Park, as Tom said. And I know Tom and I on this subject, I think we agree. We've talked together in the past about using some level of design guidelines for our commercial redevelopment on our major commercial arteries, and I think that's something that I would want to pursue as a commissioner.
Great. Pete, this question is for you.
Yes.
What do you think the commission should do to decrease crime in the city?
Well, I've had that discussion with several commissioners and with the police chief over the past several months. Crime prevention is not so much about the number of bodies as it is about how smartly we use our police force. And I think there are some technologies that we are starting to use, including cameras on Park Avenue, that are not monitoring people, but they're recording behavior so that should something happen, there is a video evidence of what happened. And I think in certain neighborhoods, I've spoken with several residents who would like decoy cameras, for example, with a big sign on the pole that says this neighborhood is under video surveillance as a way to deter criminals, as one example. And you know, I intend to continue to work with the police chief and our police force to find better ways to prevent crime in Winter Park.
Great. Tom, same question?
You know, I've worked with the police chief for the past 6 years, and unfortunately 6 years ago, due to budget constraints, we had to freeze 4 positions within our police force. And last budget season, I led the effort to unfreeze 2 of those positions. And if re-elected, I promised to work the effort to unfreeze the final 2, which will bring us up to our full complement of police officers. In addition, with talking with the chief, it's working smarter and not necessarily harder. And one of the things that he has requested are license plate recognition cameras. And we would place those at strategic locations around the city. It's a technology that exists elsewhere in Florida, and that allows us to recognize vehicles coming into town that may be stolen, may be in adverse conditions, and be able to recognize that in real time. So those are 2 things that the police chief has brought to us as a commission as a request, and my efforts would be to fulfill those.
Great. This question is for you again. Do you think historic preservation is important, and what would you do to promote it in Winter Park?
Well, yeah, I served as a chair on the Historic Preservation Board a number of years ago, and so I obviously think that historic preservation is important in our city. We just passed an update to our Historic Preservation Code, and I think that it is a measured effort to attempt to preserve aspects of the city that add to our character. And that has come forth. It's an issue here in the campaign. I believe that we've done a good job of addressing both property rights and the desire to maintain our historic character in the city. After all, that's one of the reasons people have moved to Winter Park, and so we want to restore that and not lose that.
Sure. Pete?
Yes, historic preservation is a value system that I support and respect. And when we, as a community, came together with private dollars to save the Capon House, I was there to contribute money exactly because that is the kind of real historic preservation that adds something to our city. That building has now been restored and refurbished, and it will be open to the public. It is not a stagnant facade in some neighborhood. So I consider that to be real historic real historic preservation, and I support voluntary historic preservation. I have a large disagreement with my opponent on the value of the historic district law that he promoted and in fact put into law. I believe that law will not add to the character and quality of our city, but will only pit neighbor against neighbor. I have some thoughts about how we can voluntarily encourage people to participate in historic preservation that I have gone over in great detail at winterparkperspective.org/districts, where our viewers can learn more about the weaknesses of the current law.
Great, thank you. And I'll ask you this question first. If elected, what would you like to change while serving on the commission?
You know, one of the things I bring to the party is 40 years of pretty high-level financial management and investment experience. And I think that we've seen cycles of success and decline in Winter Park as a function of the real estate market. And we have been spending money during the upticks on things that haven't been planned for. So I'd like to see more financial discipline in Winter Park in terms of how we use our reserves. And I would like to prioritize the completion of our electric undergrounding together with the reforestation of our street trees in every neighborhood, because strategically, long-term for Winter Park, that is what truly distinguishes our city. And it adds to the quality of our life and the value of our property.
Great. Tom, what would you change?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't change the electric undergrounding because right now it's on schedule and we've done a very good job of doing that. Same thing with our tree reforestation plan. We have an urban forest master plan that we've been following, and I have championed that over the last 2 years, and in fact have added over $100,000 each year for tree preservation and tree planting in our city. If I could change one thing in our city, it would be citizen participation. We're currently going through a visioning process, and that's engaged almost 1,000 residents in our city as looking for where we want to be as a city going forward. And hopefully that'll dictate and help direct our comprehensive plan, which is coming up for review. But if there was one thing that I could change, it would be to encourage citizens to interact with their commission more than they currently do now.
Great. Thank you for answering those questions for us, and I want to give you a final avenue to say what you'd like and why you should be elected. Start with you, Pete.
Yes, well, I've spent 10 years working for reasoned policy in Winter Park. The last 8 of those years I've served on the city boards. My example on the Planning and Zoning Board is clearly one of appropriate scale for commercial redevelopment. I have been endorsed by 4 former Winter Park mayors exactly because I have demonstrated the commitment and the judgment to be an effective leader for Winter Park. As your commissioner, I will work to protect the character of Winter Park as well as protect the interests of every resident and, every homeowner in Winter Park. I look forward to serving, and I look forward to representing the city and the citizens of Winter Park, and I ask for their vote in the March 15th election. Great.
Tom, your final thoughts?
You know, it's been no secret that I've been the swing vote on a lot of critical issues in the city of Winter Park. And that's one reason because I've developed a sense of trust amongst the people of Winter Park. Whenever there's a critical issue in the city, I've been the one that's invited to both sides of the table to help resolve that. And I think trust is one of those issues that you develop over time, and I've done that over the past 6 years. I bring a unique perspective to the commission. I have chaired 4 previous boards in the commission. I received the endorsement of the Winter Park Observer, And I believe that I'm the most qualified candidate for this position. My experience speaks for itself, and I am asking the voters to keep Tom on March 15th.
Great. Well, thank you so much, you both, for bringing your political views with us today. And I want to say thank you for all of you for watching. And for more information on this race and all others, visit orlandosentinel.com. I'm Kayla O'Brien. Have a great day.